And now let's switch over to video, and then you can see it here. So this is an actual webcam recording directly from the MacBook Air M2. Alright, so it has already been 1 week since I went to the Mac store and picked up the new MacBook Air M2. And in that week, I have used this MacBook Air a good bit. Enough literally to drain the battery 3 times. Granted, it never got to 100%, but I did a lot of battery testing. I've used this device all week, and I can now say that I'm ready to share with you guys some of my experiences with the $1199 base model MacBook Air. So, it's right here, of course. So click like, click subscribe, indulge in your life at indulgeclothing.com for the merch. And now let's get into the base model MacBook Air M2 review. All right, so I did grab the Midnight Edition MacBook Air M2. As you know, it only comes with a 30-watt power adapter. So it only comes with a 30-watt power adapter. Now, in my video, you'll see me using this SyncWire 67-watt dual power adapter, which is actually cheaper than the 35-watt dual power adapter that you can get with the more expensive M2 MacBook Air. So I'll have one of these linked down below. Since we're talking about chargers, let's go ahead and talk about the battery life. Just to break it down for you, I took this thing through the paces and was able to drain the battery 3 different times. The first time I drained the battery, it was to use the included charger, and well, here's your results when you get your laptop completely dead on what you can get in 30 minutes with a little included 30-watt USB-C power adapter. Oh, it completely died before I got my clip. All right, well, my MacBook Air is completely dead, as you can see. So we have the just regular included charger here currently. I'm gonna take this, plug into there. The best part of this, the MagSafe. We are charging. Set a 30-minute timer.
Okay, 30 minutes. And that's starting now.
All right, so it's booted back up. Let me log back in. And I was about to turn off this optimized feature, so it should just charge now at full speed, and you can see there we're at 1%. So I don't have anything open. Let me even put out a Chrome. There we go. So 1%. It's charging, 30-minute timer. Let's see how much the regular charger gets you in 30 minutes. All right, so after 30 minutes, we have 24% charge. I honestly thought it would be a little quicker than that. 30-watt power adapter. All right, now that this one's out of the way, this video shows you what you can expect when using a 67-watt power adapter with the MagSafe cable. All right, so once again, I have killed it from the 25% that it had on it before. And so I have a couple of chargers here. The one thing I have here is one that I'll have linked below. This one is only $40 from the folks over at SyncWire, and this is a 67-watt power adapter. You can actually see right there, 67-watt dual Type-C charger. Now this is the same price as the 35-watt one that Apple sells for $39.99. So to get this for I think $1 less at $38.99 currently, you could charge 2 devices simultaneously, one being your Mac and another being your phone. Now what's great though is this top port. As you can see, it shows a laptop. If you only use the top port, you get the full 67 watts from this power brick going to the laptop. We've got our official MagSafe cable here, and we're gonna plug it into the top port here. We'll just take our little MagSafe over here, best feature of this laptop, and we have the laptop charging. Hey Google, set a 30-minute timer.
Sure, 30 minutes. Starting now.
And you can see here 1%, and it's charging. So let's see how much charge we get with a 67-watt power adapter on our MacBook Air M2. Stop. So let's wake it up and enter in our Oh, look at that. So that's a big difference. 54%. So double the charge and then some. And so there's the results of a 67 watt, a lot better and faster. Now, one thing I did notice is that you can, of course, use a USB-C type cable to charge your MacBook Air if you don't have your MagSafe cable with you, which is great. So those are my findings on the battery usage. If you have a 67 watt that you can buy, I'll of course have this one linked down below, but you'll get a much faster charge with the 67 watt power adapter than with the little 30 watt power adapter that is included. Now, another thing I didn't know about a MacBook, because this is my first MacBook, first ever MacBook, is when you open it, it instantly powers on. You know, I never hit the power button or anything, but the MacBook is on and it's ready for my password. So just so you are aware, there is a power button. There is a power button here on the fingerprint reader. So you can see when I pressed it, it just locked the screen and then can put my fingerprint over it and boom, I'm back in. So definitely a very quick fingerprint reader. I mean, you can see, watch when I touch, unlocked. I mean, that's instant. You can't beat that. Now, let's get into the keyboard. A lot of people have complained about MacBook keyboards from what I've seen in the past. I personally thought that I was going to have a little bit of an issue, but I haven't. It's been very smooth in terms of typing when I have typed, and since it's literally the same, it's literally the same layout as the keyboard that I'm used to on my iMac. So due to these being the same size with literally all the same buttons, the only difference is this has a lock button instead of the fingerprint, has made this transition to using a MacBook a lot easier for me. And outside of the keyboard, the trackpad is also very similar to the trackpad that I have on my iMac. Nice, big, very smooth to move around, no complaints, clicks where it needs to click, etc. Just a great, perfect trackpad to go with the keyboard. Now, next best thing is definitely this screen. Now, this is with brightness all the way up. It's a very bright screen, but as you can see, if there's light behind you, it does show. Now, is that big of a deal to me? No, not really. Most of the time, I'm in Final Cut Pro. So for me, my screen is normally gonna look like this. I don't really notice this that much, in my opinion. Now, the port situation here. So on this side, you of course have the two USB ports with the MagSafe, and then this side literally just has the headphone jack. That's nothing at the front, nothing at the back. And also the turning on the laptop when you open it feature can be disabled, if you're wondering. Now, one of the other things would definitely be the speakers. They are actually hidden down in here. So they're right down in there. Now, you would probably think, oh, these speakers aren't gonna be that good. If I have my volume up. Today, we're gonna so if I have my speakers all the way up, special thanks to this company. This is what it sounds like. And of course, one of the other things that many people will probably wanna know about is, how is the video camera? Well, you can see it here, and now let's switch over to video, and then you can see it here. I like that. So this is an actual webcam recording directly from the MacBook Air M2. Great picture around me. I think my voice sounds nice and clear. I think my face looks nice and perfect, and then maybe that's it. But either way, I can't really complain with this type of webcam. I will say let's compare it to the M1 webcam. So this is the webcam on my M1 iMac. Not too bad either. I think there may be some slight improvements on the M2 one, but to me, they're basically the same. I do feel my picture and stuff is just a smidge better over here. A little bit better image processing probably coming from the M2 or something like that. And then lastly, of course, the thing that everybody wants to know about is the specs. So I'm on version 12.4. I have the M2 2022 MacBook Air with 8 gigs of RAM. I do notice that even though this is a 13.6, it's actually labeled as a 14-inch liquid retina display. I thought that was a little interesting. And 245 gigs. I believe it was about 220 gigs by the time I removed all the extra programs, is about what I had left after removing like GarageBand and stuff like that. So you'll get 245 out of your 256, and then you'll really have 220 to use. That's if you get this 256 gigabyte model, which again then shows 251 gigs, but it's labeled as and then it's 240, whatever it is. In the end though, this thing has shredded me through a couple of video editing sessions in Final Cut, and I've not had any real complaints with this laptop. I record everything in 4K. It's been able to take all that 4K content and create me a 4K video in no time flat. Now, a lot of people may wonder why I chose an M2 MacBook Air and maybe did not spend that extra $100 for the M2 MacBook Pro. If you really look at the M2 MacBook Pro, it's basically a 2016 laptop with a new M2 chip in it. The screen's old, the keyboard's old, everything else in the laptop is old with the exception of the M2 processor. With this one, for $100 less, I get the higher end processor, I get new RAM, I get a new screen, I get a new 1080p HD webcam, I get a nice new keyboard, I get fingerprint unlock. Everything is new and it's $100 less. Now, for some people, they may think that the ports and all that kind of stuff are better on the MacBook Pro M2. I personally am fine with my 2 ports, and you know, that's just plenty for me. Now, I can say in terms of speed, I don't see a whole lot of a difference between my M2 and my M1, but that's because it's only a small difference in performance speed from the M1 over the M2. So again, the main reason I went with this was everything was new and I needed a traveling laptop compared to getting an M1 MacBook, which would have been like a year-old laptop at that point. I didn't want that. Now, would I recommend this to most people? It's very powerful. And as long as you're not trying to rip like 4 8K streams or something, you should be pretty good with this thing. Most people are gonna have 20 tabs in Chrome open and that's really all they're gonna use it for. It should do that perfectly fine. Of course, you can start to eat into that 8 gigs of memory, you know, if you have enough of those open. But in the long run, for 90% of people, this is going to be absolutely more than what they need, at least in my opinion. And for that small group of the 10%, they're gonna pay the extra $700 or $800 to go to a MacBook Pro to get that better cooling and better processing speed and all that kind of stuff. So that'll of course do it for this video. I have absolutely loved my M2 MacBook 2. Big thumbs up to Apple. Again, I mainly bought this for when I'm traveling, so now I can travel and record and edit on the road so we can kind of do some live vlogs, which I think would be fun. Literally recording a whole day, uploading it the next day, recording that whole day, uploading it the next day, and so on. So I'll of course have my 67 watt sync wire power brick linked down below if you'd like to grab one of those for your MacBook Air. And that should do it for this video. Click like, click subscribe, indulge in your life at indulgeclothing.com for the merch, and we'll see you in the next one. Deuces.